Paul George and Steven Adams, name me a player of consequence from Oklahoma City. And I'm someone that is hard on Westbrook because he's the same player that he's always been. And if you look at his shooting numbers, I think he's shooting, what, 32% from the field for the series. He's getting thoroughly outplayed by Damian Lillard. His game is not going to age. He's been pretty terrible with the media, you know, all season, and that doesn't do well when you're not excellent anymore. You have to earn that type of exceptionalism, and he's not excellent anymore as a basketball player to warrant that type of behavior.
And when you're not, you better have a decent supporting cast, either until you are or until you figure it out.
Well, here's the thing, the other part of it. Russ has taken everybody's best shot that didn't belong to him. Bad James Harden trade, we blame Russ because of his lack of control. Kevin Durant, we didn't want to give Kevin Durant criticism when Oklahoma City failed in the playoffs for years in a row. We gave it to Russ because you didn't give KD the ball enough. And now that it's Russ's turn to actually own the criticism and actually for it to be his fault, that's where I started to get uncomfortable because he's caught so much of it already. He's owning all of this. He should own all of this. But I think we're starting to see that he didn't own everything before.
So
that
he had always been a shield for other star players, whether he wanted to be or not. Like when the Thunder blew a 3-1 lead to the Warriors, Russ caught almost all of that.
Oh, he owned all of that.
And even though Kevin Durant should have caught some of that. Well, you mentioned Russ shooting under 35% in this series. Paul George barely shooting any better, but Paul George has two things going for him. One, Russ is catching a lot of the criticism. The other one is Paul George's really awful game, the 3 for 16 game, they won. So whenever just like Steph was really bad this weekend, but they won, so nobody cares. Like, people care when you have the game Durant did, more turnovers and field goal attempts, and you lose. If you win, nobody cares if you're bad in a game. So there are other elements to it, but what you got to is what is frustrating for me, because I haven't been hard on Russ throughout his career like you have. I love the way he plays. I mean, I think the way he goes so hard every single night is borderline inspiring. But everyone needs to evolve, and everyone needs to understand the direction the game is going, no matter what their game is, and understanding, hey, maybe this wasn't what I was built to do initially, but if I don't change and adjust, I'm going to get left behind. At no point would we have ever thought, or I would have ever thought, that Damian Lillard, who's a really good player, would be a more valuable player than Russell Westbrook. But we are now at that point where in today's NBA, Damian Lillard absolutely is a more valuable player than Russell Westbrook. And it's disappointing because I don't think, that Russ is going to come back next year different. I think he's going to come back next year most likely the same guy, just a little less athletic because he's a little bit older.
Well, the thing about Russ is Russ was a late bloomer in high school. He wasn't highly recruited. At UCLA, people did not look to him to be, an NBA all-star at some point, let alone an MVP. So for me, the chance of him changing, because this is who he has made himself into. And I just look at things a lot smarter. Even though Russ plays at a high level from an energy standpoint, I never thought that was the best way to play. I never thought it was sustainable. And I played with a bunch of guys that were in great shape, but they trained stupid. Like, they would overtrain their body. And I'd be like, that's not necessary. Like, you have to give your body the proper amount of nutrients, rest, and training, and all those things. To me, Russ playing with that type of energy, because he only played that way on the offensive end. He never played that frantic on the defensive end. And when you have that type of athletic ability, I do know this, it's an attitude. So Russ has chosen that I'm not going to play defense with the athleticism, because he could suffocate guards. He could play baseline to baseline. Oh, because he does that on the offensive end. He chooses not to on the defensive end. So I don't think Russ is going to change, and he's in an environment in OKC where they have accepted Russ, and they have a coaching staff that is not going to challenge him to do other things on the basketball court, because I believe Russ could slow down and be more effective. And in tonight's game, he's not going to have no governor. He is going to start the game like he is on the most amazing shooting streak. He's going to start the game like he's Steph Curry. And he's And it's painful to be able to see that guys that don't develop, because his game is not going to age. And when you stop playing above the rim, his game is going to suffer because he just has not developed the other aspects of his game.
Vincent, if he were to change, if he were to make this commitment to changing, who would you like to see come back next season? A guy that is going to take all that energy and play defense, or a guy that's going to spend the offseason working on his shooting percentage, his outside three-point shooting? I mean, something else, some other part of his game.
Well, when you lose your legs, especially as a guard, the number one thing you have to do is develop a consistent jump shot. And because he's so reliant on his athleticism and getting to the basket, he's going to lose that little by little. He's had a number of knee surgeries through the years that have stripped away at it, except it didn't look worse for wear in the moment. Now you're starting to see that that jump shot has abandoned him, a jumper that he never had to begin with, but the athleticism made up for it. Now that that's leaving him, here's the comparison that I hate to say it. Remember how Allen Iverson seemed to go from a 30-point scorer to a non-entity almost
like
overnight.
Like that? I fear that for Russell, in the way that what does he have to lean on if not for this boundless energy, if not for this, I'm going to grab every rebound, get every assist, create everything for everybody. Once he doesn't have that anymore, where's the fundamentals that makes him a good basketball player as opposed to someone who plays basketball well night to night?
All right, Vincent, stick around. More to come. Can Giannis rule the East?